Hey guys, welcome to the Classic Wrath Demolock guide for 335. I'm Ruggs, and I've written this guide with my friend Jamie Lawlex, who has over 5 years of experience playing Demolock on private servers, and we are thrilled to present this guide to you. Demolocks in Wrath are probably the most iconic support class of all of World of Warcraft. This is due to their Demonic Pact talent. Demonic Pact increases your spell damage by 10%. And whenever your pet has a critical strike, they will apply Demonic Pact to your party or raid. Demonic Pact increases the spell power by 10% of your spell power for 45 seconds. This effect has a 20-second cooldown and does not work on enslaved demons. The way that this works is your Demonology Warlock gets funneled all the spell power gear that they want, because every time that they proc their Demonic Pact, they're going to be providing 10% of their spell power to the rest of the raid, which is an overall DPS increase every time your Demolock gets an upgrade. Additionally, your Demolock plays around this by holding their Felguard back and waiting for all of their procs to go off, from their trinkets to their racials to their cloak enchants and everything that they possibly can. And once they have the largest amount of spell power in their entire kit possible, they'll send their pet in to get a critical strike and apply Demonic Pact with the largest possible spell power snapshot that they can to give your raid a huge DPS increase. Now, with that fundamental understanding of how a Demolock provides support for their raid, let's jump straight into the guide. In this guide, we're going to go over talents, glyphs, stats, gems, consumables, race, and rotation. This first talent tree is intended to be the maximum amount of spell power for your raid, our ultra support spec. This is because we're talenting into getting more hit rating so that we don't have to worry about either gemming for hit or getting hit from other places in our gear. We can focus full on getting more and more spell power. This next talent build is just a slight variation where if we get a Classic Wrath scripting where Felguard is actually doing a lot of damage, you'll likely want to go this build as just a personal DPS increase. This last talent build is only for fights where we know we have a lot of pushback on our spells. For glyphs, Glyph of Quick Decay is really important. It's going to increase the speed at which our corruption ticks. And corruption is a big source of our DPS and a big source of getting our procs, such as Molten Core, to pop off. So it's very important. Glyph of Life Tap is very important because it's just going to give us a flat increase in spell power as long as we keep the buff up. Assuming Felguard is working properly, Glyph of Felguard is going to be a great choice as our third glyph. However, it's not used on every fight. We do want to sub this out for Glyph of Metamorphosis for a few fights where we know that we need to focus on a big execute phase. Some of these fights might include maybe Thaddeus or Hygen, Iron Council hard mode, maybe Freya potentially, Hodier, Anubarak, Blood Queen Lanithil, Professor Putricide. These are just a few examples that I could think of. For our stats, and this is focused on buffing the raid as much as we possibly can, we need to get our hit rating all the way up to 11% if we're Horde or 10% as Alliance. Next up, we got to get as much spell power as we can possibly get. As for Spirit, every 1 point of Spirit is equal to 0.59 spell power. So getting lots of Spirit on our gear is actually a good choice. Next up is going to be Haste. Haste is going to be a great DPS increase for us. And then lastly is going to be Crit. For consumables, we can just be happy with Fish Feast. If you need hit, you can actually eat Snapper Extreme for 40 hit. For Flask, we'll go Flask of Frost Rim for the most amount of spell power. And obviously, got to bring a lot of Spiced Mammoth treats to buff our pet. For potions, we are strictly using Potion of Wild Magic. We do not use Potion of Speed because we want the spell power from Potion of Magic to buff our raid. And Flame Cap is also going to be a great DPS increase for us as well. For gems, we go with Chaotic Skyflare Diamond in our meta. And then we get as much spell power as we can with either going for Runed Scarlet Ruby if we're in phase 1 or 2, or the Runed Cardinal Ruby in phase 3 to 5. And then we'll also throw in 2 purified Twilight Opals or 2 purified Dreadstones in some blue sockets so that we can get our metagem act. Our best in slot professions have got to be jewel crafting and tailoring. Do not ever get engineering on Demolock unless you're the greediest person in the world. This is going to give us the most amount of spell power possible, especially the most amount of spell power on our snapshot for demonic pack. So go tailoring and jewel crafting every time. As for race, for horde, we gotta go orc, and it's not even close. The damage from command is pretty solid, but what we really like is Blood Fury. We get to use this every 2 minutes, and it's just going to increase our spell power by a flat amount, which also gets to be applied for our demonic pack. As for alliance, human's really the only good choice here, as we get the spirit increase to our base spirit, but it's not very much, and there really isn't any other good option for alliance. Now for the rotation opener, we want to make sure that we get our Glyph of Life Tap buff going. And about 6 seconds before the pull, we're going to pre-cast a Soulfire and pre-pot with our Wild Magic Potion just before the boss is engaged. As for the standard rotation, we want to keep up our Glyph of Life Tap buff. We want to put up Curse of Doom if we can. Otherwise, we got to put up Curse of Elements if we're missing a Boomkin or an Unholy Decay. Next, we want to put up Corruption. If we have any Molten Core procs, we want to Incinerate with them. We want to keep up Immolate, and then just use Shadow Bolt as a filler. Now the Demolock execution starts at 35% HP, and here's the updated rotation. We're going to keep our life tap buff up. We got to apply Curse of Doom only if we know that it will pop. And then we spam Soulfire as much as we possibly can. The only thing that we do otherwise is put up our Corruption if we know that we're going to get full duration of it, and Immolate only if we know we're going to get the full duration effect of our Immolate. There's just spam Soulfire, and it's a blast. Now here's a clip of Jamie demonstrating the opener and a standard rotation for you on a patchwork style fight. Now you can use this Metamorphosis macro if you'd like, which lets you cast Blood Fury, all of your trinkets, meta, Demonic Frenzy, your Inji Gloves if you have any, and cast Immolation Aura. Obviously, you would replace this if you're not an orc, if you don't have Blood Fury, and you'd replace this with any trinkets that you might use. Although Jamie and I don't entirely recommend that you always tack on Immolation Aura and Demonic Frenzy on this, as oftentimes you want to save those just for a couple seconds if you know you can get more uptime on them for a particular cleave fight. For tips and tricks, you're going to want to use rank 1 Shadow Bolt on weak mobs to make sure that you try to snipe those decimation procs for yourself. You really need to set up a good weak aura for demonic pack so you can get a good snapshot on it regularly and consistently. Seed of Corruption is always going to be better than Rain of Fire for AoE, no matter which pet you're using. The Demon Charge, as fun as it usually is typically always going to be a bait and a DPS loss for you. It costs a GCD, and Immolation Aura plus Seed plus Shadow Flame will usually do more AoE for you anyway. Immolation Aura is also always going to be a single target DPS increase, so being close to your mob is really important. Multi-dotting with Corruption is not always worth it, as even though you might be getting some nice Molten Core procs, you will lose some effective single target damage at the cost of it, so multi-dot wisely. And that's it for the guide. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this type of content, make sure you subscribe. Comment down below if you have any questions at all, and I'm sure I can either get Jamie or Merfin on the line to help answer those. I'm not a huge demonology expert, but I reached out to some people who know this way better than I do to help create this video. So big thank you to Jamie for helping write this guide and helping provide some of the content for this. I love you all so much, and take care.